Hi there, it's Sam. It's fairly late in the day on Friday, September 10th, 2021. And somebody had asked me, and I said that I would record a short little message on credit. And the reason for that is in light of this whole issue that we've got going on with the Vax passport. And where I live, the province is intending to implement this on Monday. And of course, we know it's illegal. We know it makes absolutely no rational sense. It hasn't been thought out. It can't be implemented. But the point of all of that is it is a step towards social credit, and social credit is absolute control, which is just an extension of what we already have going on with our credit system, our credit scoring system, or the FICO score, the Beacon score, whatever you want to call it, your credit score. And so I'm going to start off, I'm going to play a short little video explaining what happens when we go digital. And then I'm going to back up and look at how we qualify for credit today, and leave you with kind of maybe the first step to thinking about the hope, because it's part of a whole big longer teaching, a lot more to be aware of in terms of the credit system. But if you're aware of how things work, it is a step in opening up your mind to possibilities, to see and to focus on the good. So I'm going to start by showing you the negative. So hopefully this works. A minute ago it didn't. So I'm going to start with sharing my screen. Okay, there we go. And then we'll find the video. Here we go.
You're not realizing what happens when it all goes digital. You know, what's happening is there's a digital barrier that's been created between us and reality, and us and nature, you know. And we're getting to the point where we're going to have to need a mobile phone and a passcode to get into a park, or to get into our car, or to do any normal things, you know. So society is being restructured into this digital AI reality, and this surveillance mechanism is constructed in such a way that it will weed out dissenters like you and me. You know, suddenly you'll go to, because we've had this conversation, I'll go, oh, well, Sasha Day game, we've got to drop his social credit points, and you'll go to buy an airplane ticket and find you're not qualified for the airplane ticket. There's no one for you to call. There's no appeal process. You're just not qualified. You know, and you get barred from certain services due to your political viewpoint. They're doing this in China now. They've got over 7 million people on China's credit blacklist due to social crediting. And these people can't do things like ride on aircraft, can't ride on trains. And many of them can't even rent houses. So it squeezes you completely out of the system. You know, and if you're a dissident, they can basically criminalize you by default by lowering your social credit points to the point that they've limited your purchasing power with just about everything. Can't fly, can't travel, can't rent a house. So they put you in a smart prison for your safety. But either way, you become an outcast. And they've done all sorts of stuff in China where they've like put change your ringtone. So if you're on the blacklist and I call you, I'll get a message to say the person I'm calling is on the credit blacklist. Do I wish to proceed with the call? So then I'll get a little noticing mark against my name that I'm associating with bad characters. So of course I don't want to associate with you, you know. So this is, we start policing our own thoughts, and it's just a way of squeezing all the dissenters out, and no one will even notice them disappearing. It won't be like there's this big, you know, the revolution will not be televised, you know. It won't be like this big blanket thing that you see. Suddenly you'll just fall off the internet because you don't have enough social credit points to have a house and have the internet on, or you can't access it on your phone because of what you've said. So you just kind of, everyone will be going, what happened to Sasha? You know, and suddenly you can't tell anybody because your purchasing power is limited, and you just disappear. You become a noticeable person with the whole surveillance state they're putting in. So you stand out in a crowd. You know, they got all this sort of stuff in place, tracking people by the way they walk and all this sort of stuff. And when you look at what they're saying is going to become irrelevant soon and obsolete, they're saying things like newspapers, landlines, even GPSs. You won't have standalone GPSs because everyone will use their phone. So they're getting everybody dependent upon the phone. And we're losing cash. Books will disappear. It's all becoming digitized. And then they can just lock you out of it, rewrite everything. You know, so it's a very dangerous situation that we're heading into, brother. And a lot of people just aren't paying attention to it. They think it's all very smart, and they're not realizing what.
That happened to us, kind of. I'm going to now look at sort of how we qualify for credit right now. In the world that we live in today, I'm going to say that happened to us because a couple of years ago, somehow 41 cents ended up on both of our credits, Joe and I, Joe, my husband, and it cost us almost 100 points on our credit, and we didn't qualify for anything, and we didn't pick up on it for a while. When the bank finally did accept full responsibility for it, there was nothing we can do. We could have sued them, but the amount that cost us in terms of opportunity, in terms of added value, in terms of like he said, purchasing power, was immense. 41 cents. It's a mechanism of control. They call it regulation, and they disguise it as risk. But when we start talking about risk, let me show you how you qualify right now for credit. They call it the 5 C's of credit, but right in the middle is really the whole concept of score. It comes up with a score. Character is how long you've been living somewhere or at the same kind of work that gives you a score. Your capacity is what your income is compared to the amount of debt, the total debt service. There's a calculation for that, and there's a formula, and different loans and different banks have different criteria. Collateral is there a house, a piece of property? Is there a car? Is there some asset against that, a piece of equipment? Capital, do you have money sitting aside somewhere else? If you got $1 million over here and you're applying for $10,000, you probably have the extra capital that you could pay for that. And then the conditions of the loan. How long is the loan? What are the payments going to be? The frequency of the payments, et cetera, the interest rate, et cetera. Those are the things right now that we call our credit score, and they determine who gets and who does not get credit. And different banks have different ways of calculating that, of course. So, it's an interesting thing because if you are self-employed, meaning you have come up with an idea and you've been able to generate income, in order to qualify for a loan, you have to produce a couple of years worth of tax returns. And there's a longer form that you have to fill out in order to the bank, for the bank to say yes or no. If you have a paycheck, you can produce a paycheck and they will then use that to determine whether or not you get a loan. It's much easier to get any kind of a loan if you have a paycheck. And we have a friend who'd been self-employed for a number of years with a successful business and was trying to get a mortgage. And he was running into difficulties because if you're self-employed or you're a business owner, you go into this kind of stream for qualifying. If you're an employee, you go this way. Employees get all kinds of benefits and it's easier. So this friend couldn't get a mortgage. Finally, somebody said to him, well, if I give you a job, would that help? And so he took a job and 10 days later had a mortgage. Bought a house. Interesting. The system is already there. But as they're talking about in that video, what we have is this movement of you will own nothing and you will be happy, which is the mandate, the mantra of the New World Order. And we can call that the beast system or the Babylonian system. And it's like the Egyptian army coming in and squeezing behind us. And I say the Egyptian army because if we use the period of time between Joseph and Moses as an example, where the people were forced into making more bricks with less straw, that's really where we are right now. And the Egyptian army is the Egyptian mindset is to deal with things in the natural in order to be like God. It's the deception, the original deception, that Satan tempted Eve with. And there's one way that you can interpret Adam and Eve, which is quite fascinating. Actually, there's a couple ways, but when you read it, you start to illuminate and see what's going on. And when you can see what's going on, you can also see God. So if we hold that thought on the Exodus, the time between Joseph and Moses, and let's go to Adam and Eve for a second. One of the meanings of Eve is the collective, the group of humanity. The other one is Adam, the individual. And Eve, the collective, the group, the church, the people, was deceived because there was an infiltration. You can be like God. Meaning, if that in the world system, in the beast system, You can have all these things. Look, you can own a house, you can have this nice lifestyle, you can have a fancy car, you know, get paid holidays and medical benefits and all kinds of stuff if you have a job, a paycheck. The person that signs your paycheck would have a harder time getting ahead than and getting access to cash than the employee. This just things that make you kind of go, what? That doesn't make sense. When you start thinking about it. Okay, but is that collective, that group, that societal, cultural expectation, the cultural norm influence the individual. So right now we have this fiat system, this debt-based system that is caused the people to make more bricks with less straw. We go to work, we get paid in pieces of paper. Those pieces of paper we then put on deposit, and we think we have cash, we think we have savings. But if I'm just going to use small numbers, and you can multiply that out to trillions if you want. But if we have $1,000 on deposit, let's say we make $10 a year on that. Even if you made $100, it doesn't, you know, whatever, you make a small amount. The bank then prints money and makes loans to fuel the economy. So we actually take money, that we take the debt that we've been paid with, we take that debt, we give it to the bank so that they can then go and print more money to come back into society. And then they make money on that. They make, let's say, 10% on it. So now we've taken $1,000 that we think is our savings, and the bank has now put $10,000 into society and charged 10% on it. But then they take each of those $10,000 and they bundle them together, and now you've got $100,000 and they charge 20%. Okay, just read the parable of the talents and the parable of the minas, and you can see that our thinking has really trained us. The thinking that we have in our conventional system is trained us to be the first steward, to just keep money and bury it under the mattress and look after ourselves. And we think we're doing well, but instead we're actually fueling the financial system, which is causing the slavery. Because to us, the money on deposit, we're taught as an asset, but really it's a liability to the bank because they got to pay it back, but they're paying next to nothing on it. In some cases, they are paying nothing on it. And to us, a liability is a loan. And so we're taught, you know, that stuff is horrible. Well, it is, but we have to think like the bank, because that's the thing that's enslaving us. So this Egyptian mindset is what is fueling the collective, the cultural expectations. So right now we have this big barreling down, this Egyptian army that is barreling down on all of us. And we are really, each one of us individually comes to a Red Sea moment where we have to make a choice. Are we going to believe the truth of God's word, that God is good, God is above all of this? Or are we going to let the army persuade us so that we stay with that culture? And it's hard, because if you're going to take that step into the sea, there's chaos on either side. And we are at the place right now where the army is caving in so much, and you can see all this evil that really humanity is, everybody around the world is coming to this place, this Red Sea moment. And what we want to do is we want to make sure that we focus on God, because God's ways are not debt-based. The people were enslaved in ancient Egypt, the period of time between Joseph and Moses, because of this exact same economic financial system. We call it the Babylonian system. It's the same thing that happened at the Tower of Babel. Babel and Babylon mean they're the same word. One's Hebrew, one's Greek. And we're not there. That system comes down in 1 hour. 1 hour is at the appointed time. And right now we are in a time where all of creation is crying out, the heavens and the earth, and all of humanity is saying, whoa, 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 what is going on? We grew up in a society where we had the opportunity to pursue freedom, but we were pursuing it in a system that is designed to enslave. And where we are coming is there's been this parallel plan as the central banking system and the Federal Reserve and the whole world was getting onto this US dollar Fed system, where the whole world, except for a few nations where there was war being waged against them, the whole world was really being enslaved and we thought we were free. And we really are about to be free. And that's why we look to the truth. We go right back to the beginning, and we can go all the way through to Revelation, and you can see that this Babylonian system, this whole cycle of humanity, God wins. And we're right there. So if it feels like we're being, well, like this credit system is coming in around us, if it feels like there's, like you might be losing something, we really need to look to see where that system is going and just say, and know that we've been taught that that's the way it is, but that's not the way it is. It doesn't have to be that way. And so I'm going to continue to do videos. I've got a Rediscovering Hope series that should be available next week, because there's so much more, immeasurably more than we can even ask or imagine. And so stay tuned. Please don't take that as a negative. Just be aware, God wins. And it's very exciting, but be aware of what the real intention is. This has nothing to do with health. This has to do with control. And they call it regulation and fancy words, but that's okay. God is in control. And we stand against it because we are made in the likeness and image of him, meaning we were made to be his image on earth, full of power and love and authority and a sound mind. And so with that, God bless. Have an awesome weekend.